Hello and welcome to Niallson Johnson,
Nerds at Law.
and we are here on part 3 of 2. I'm borrowing that from Lindsay Ellis. Part 3 of 2 of what started out as a 2-parter, ended up being a 3-parter, but this time we're talking about Star Wars. So in our previous parts, the first part we talked about our first experiences of the original Star Wars trilogy and
Growing up in the 90s.
Growing up in the 90s into the 2000s and
discovering Star Wars before Star Wars was happening around us, and then
the prequels hit.
part 2.
And then part 2
was just an hour of Revenge of the Sith.
Pretty much.
We really like Star Wars. We really like that movie in particular.
Yeah.
That was our heyday of Star Wars.
Yeah, this is true. Like, I mean,
I
was 16 when Revenge of the Sith came out. And you know, it was
a special time.
It was a special time.
We were learning things about ourselves.
Yeah, we really were. Yeah, I mean, it was the perfect age to we were the perfect age for each of the prequels.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, we were the
target demographic of each of those movies.
Like it or not, we totally dug Jar Jar Binks when we were kids.
Probably. Funnily enough, I don't remember having any particular feelings about Jar Jar Binks, liking or disliking. I just remember waking up one day and everybody hated him.
Yeah. You know, like, I remember all the hype leading up to episode 1 where it was like, there's an entirely CGI character, and there were that same clip of Qui-Gon meeting him in the swamp and introducing him to Obi-Wan was constantly used over and over again. And it was this big thing. Nowadays it's, you know, let's crap on Jar Jar, which was very sad because Ahmed Best recently came out about the really dark places that sent him. So be kind to people, folks.
Imagine if he did that in 2019 Twitter.
Yeah. Okay, so right now. So Revenge of the Sith. Back to Revenge of the No, we're not back to Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is done. We're done. And with Revenge of the Sith being done, Star Wars, it seemed, was done. And in 2005, post Revenge of the Sith, there was an element of, where does Star Wars go next? There was talk. There was so much
talk of TV series.
So much talk of TV series. So much talk of Daniel Logan, I think was his name.
Yeah, doing a Boba Fett
coming
TV
back
series.
and doing a Boba Fett TV series.
There were teaser images from, and not teaser, but teaser posters.
Yeah.
Made for that show.
Yeah.
I was so looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of getting it now.
Well, yeah, we are with the Mandalorian in some way. Like, you know, it's a different kind of form. But there was a time where you were kind of sitting there in as much of a way that I would imagine the fans in 1983 were sitting there going,
well, what's next?
What's next? Where do we go now? You know? And but so me and Niall,
it's worth noting, to be fair, actually, before we get into where I know you're going.
Yeah.
For a lot of real diehard fans like myself, that gap was being filled with the expanded universe.
Fair enough.
You know, it for me it was like there might not be any more movies happening.
Yeah.
There might not be TV series happening.
Yeah.
There might not be cartoons. There might not be this. There might not be that. But there were always new books coming out.
Yeah,
and there
that's
were
true.
always new stories that were filling in gaps in the Clone Wars that were taking place after Jedi.
Jason Solo was going places.
Jason Solo was going to dark places.
Yeah.
In a story that, I mean, this is...
You're just like him.
What?
Wasn't that the line?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry. I was like, what? Are you saying...
I haven't even read the book.
Are you saying I'm like him?
I haven't even read the book.
Yeah, a series...
We'll not go into that. Just spoilers.
Just... It gets dark.
It gets very dark.
It's uncomfortably dark in places. Anyway.
Yeah.
We went to London.
We went to London, baby.
Star Wars Celebration 30.
Celebration Europe.
Yeah. Was it? No, it wasn't.
It was the 30.
It was 30. Yeah, it was Celebration 30. But
Celebration 30 was in
LA?
Somewhere in the States. But yeah, so we were at Celebration Europe, which was the first of its kind. It was in the XL Centre in London, and it was for my 18th birthday that I got the tickets, and
I want to say it was an early 17th birthday present.
Yeah. Because it was around that time. It was like Augusty time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it would have been around then, yeah.
And wow, that was an experience. That was the first time. Had you been to a Star Wars convention at that point?
I'd never been to a convention of any kind at that point.
Neither had I.
And it was, I mean, we were brought by our sisters. Our older sisters were very good friends.
Yeah.
And as I've said in previous episodes, my oldest sister was a big Star Wars fan. Yeah. So when I said I wanted to go to this thing,
and my sister, she dug Star Wars. She dressed up as Mara Jade on day one.
That's right, yeah.
You know?
And didn't they go meet the model for the Mara Jade
she ended
cards?
up meeting like everybody. Yeah. She just like wandered up and started chatting with people, and they're like, hey.
But I had said, I'd kind of like to go to London to this thing, and my sister was like, oh, an excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
And we went, and
so day one, like, we saw so much. There was people in costumes. There was so many wonderful stalls. There was the entire corridor of the Tantive for the Blockade Runner. There were it was quite amazing. And we went to see some shows. We went to see One Man Star Wars.
Oh, that was excellent.
With Charlie, what's his name? Charlie. I have since met him. Because he did the show again. I've seen him do One Man Lord of the Rings in Derry, and then he came to Letterkenny and did One Man Star Wars. After which I actually got chatting with him. Gentleman of a guy.
That was an excellent show.
It's such a good show. If you can see that show, either One Man Star Wars or One Man Lord of the Rings, they're hilarious. Go and see them. So day one was great, and not only that, but there was a Guitar Hero 2 stall. Me and Niall were very good at Guitar Hero 2. John here is still kind of good at Guitar Hero 2.
My last experience of Guitar Hero was at John's stag party.
Yeah, or bachelor party for anyone across the water.
In the States, a few months ago. It didn't go well. I'm going to put that down to
a lot of Heineken.
I was inebriated. I was well on, as we'd say.
Yeah.
But also, I still could not hold a candle to my 17-year-old self.
Yeah, 17-year-old Niall and 18-year-old John actually gathered a crowd around the Guitar Hero stall at Star Wars Celebration Europe.
Okay, let's put it like this. If you go right now to Twitter and search us at Nerds Law, you will see our profile picture on Twitter. And it is a picture of the two of us from that Star Wars convention.
With a Gamorrean guard.
12 years ago. And in that picture, I am wearing a Guitar Hero t-shirt that was gifted to me by the person running that stall because we had gathered a crowd and helped her sell Guitar Hero for the weekend.
Do you know, I still have my Guitar Hero 2 t-shirt.
I think mine accidentally was put in a bag and sent to a charity shop not too long ago.
Yeah, so that was fun. Day 2... I think we were killed by the queues because we were standing in line for an audience with Anthony Daniels.
Yeah, day 2 we because day 1 we had very much gone, we're going to see everything. We're going to walk around and see everything that this place has to offer. Yeah. Day 2 we went in and we had seen all the stalls. We'd met a few people. We met a guy who made action figures. He was really cool.
That's right, yeah.
And we decided we're going to see some shows. And we queued. And we queued. And we queued. And we queued for an audience with Anthony Daniels. And it was fine.
Yeah.
It was
fun. It was
fine.
It was Anthony Daniels talking about being...
Anthony Daniels.
C-3PO, you know?
Yeah. Who is essentially Anthony Daniels.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we left. I remember leaving that evening. And we were just like, oh, there's another day of it. I think we're kind of done.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because we went to a panel about The Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
Remember that? Right, yeah. So there's a panel about the making of The Force Unleashed, and I remember being an absolute geek going up to ask a question. I went up and I mean, of course, you know, that's what one
it's
does.
The dumb thing.
But I was like,
not in any way to laugh at people.
Of course.
Going up to ask questions and comments. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at him going up to ask questions.
Because I was like, so I saw that Shaq T is in photographs, and seeing that Shaq T was killed in Revenge of the Sith in deleted sequences, in 2 separate deleted sequences, with her lightsaber, with Anakin's lightsaber going through her chest, one was General Grievous killing her with the lightsaber through the chest, and later it was Anakin hitting her with the lightsaber through the chest. So, with George Lucas being so involved in The Force Unleashed, do you will we see that death for Shaq T happening again? And the panelists were sitting there going, "Yeah, so Shaq T's back, everybody." And as it turns out,
it was very reminiscent of that bit in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
In this episode,
Wizard did it.
Scratchy plays the ribs like a xylophone, but there's obviously 3 different notes played by the one rib, and yeah, I really hope someone got fired for that mistake.
Wizard did it. Oh dear. Yeah. So I was that guy that time, and they were like, "Yeah, so Shaq T's back." And as it turned out, she doesn't get killed like that. She gets eaten by a giant plant. Fun times. I know, right? So yeah, and at that point as well, there was also a panel that we didn't go to, which was previewing. I think you went to maybe. It was a preview of the trailer for a new Clone Wars computer generated.
Oh yeah, I did go to that.
You did go to that, and I think I missed it. Yeah.
And no, to be fair, it was a trailer for the movie.
For the movie, yeah, that's right.
And when that movie came out, disappointment was a thing.
It was. Anakin was better in it.
Anakin was better in it, but the introduction of this character, Ahsoka, really put me off.
Yeah.
Because
who ironically has since become a massive fan favourite.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the rest of Clone Wars?
I have watched season 1 and nothing else.
Oh man.
I know. It's all ahead of me.
So good.
I think I'm gonna wait for Disney Plus.
Well, I'm very excited because they've announced season 7 is happening. They're bringing it back. What I need to do now is need to finally get back into watching Rebels.
Yeah.
Because I've let that fall to the side. I have very much not, since they cut the expanded universe and made Legends and the new Disney.
We'll get there.
But I haven't been following the newer stuff.
Yeah.
As much because so there's a few different shows going on.
Yeah.
There's Rebels. There's Star Wars Resistance.
Yeah.
I think, which is the one
based in the future.
I think there's some more stuff going on that I need to catch myself up on, because that's what I've always loved is the stuff going on around the main story. But yeah, no, watch the Clone Wars, man.
I'm thoroughly looking forward to it.
Very good.
So that is where Star Wars was for a while.
It was
and
upcoming cartoons,
and it was
video games, different bits and pieces.
Yeah, and that's all it was bits and pieces. And to be quite honest, I kind of felt like after that experience in London, I probably had enough of Star Wars for a while.
Yeah, well, we've often described it as we overdosed on Star Wars.
Yeah, we overdosed on Star Wars.
We left the third day of that con.
And went and watched Harry Potter.
And went to see Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
I didn't even go the third day.
Did you not? I was staying.
Yeah, you were over
right opposite.
Yeah.
So we went in the morning and then we were like, I think I'm done with this. And yeah, and then me and you went to see Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix in the Leicester Square Odeon, which was very exciting because that's where all the movies premiere.
Yeah, so. I think it. I want to say it premiered there like the week before.
Oh yeah, it had. Yeah.
But it was very recent. It was maybe a few days before.
Possibly. But it was very cool. So that was the state of Star Wars for a good while. And then the twin-teens, as I like to call them, began. And it happened. George Lucas. All of a sudden, this news. George Lucas had sold Star Wars to Disney. And all of a sudden we were getting an entirely new Star Wars trilogy. We were getting this, we were getting that, and it was like, wow. And I really didn't know what to think of it because in the lead up to what became The Force Awakens, there was an element of I knew deep down that they were probably going to not go anywhere near the expanded universe.
Yeah.
I knew that. I mean, because something that I meant to say in the very first one, of these podcasts. One of my reasons why I love history so much was because I essentially had the foundations laid in the fictional history of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it was this proto history that I loved to pore over, and I was like, okay, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened because this happened, and seeing the chronology of things, and seeing like the great hyperspace war 5,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, and seeing the Sith Wars and
the Mandalorian Wars,
and all of these different things,
Jedi Schism,
and all of these things, and then going off into the future with with the Thrawn campaign, or the Truce of Bakura straight after Revenge of the Sith or Return of the Jedi, and or
you know what Star Wars needs more of? Dinosaurs. That was basically the Truce of Bakura.
I just loved that idea of the chronology, and I think that I then as I grew up, I transferred that love onto real history and kind of rediscovered history in a big bad way. And I
never did. I just found more fictional histories to get into.
Yeah, like I mean, I kind of find the knowledge of real history to be somewhat more practical in the real world.
I'm not a very practical person.
That's fair enough. No, I'm just saying. And again, this is not to diss. No. You've been listening to us talk. I know the deep cuts.
We know what we are.
But yeah, so whenever it then became apparent that that the new Disney trilogy would essentially be, to use a very strong phrase, burning these history books, like that's kind of what it felt like, or to be, it felt like they were recording over a movie that I loved. In some way, it felt like that. It felt like, oh, this no longer matters.
Well, it was funny for me. It cut me deep, man. But it was because I was actually in the process of reading one of the more recent series when it was announced.
Yeah. Oh no.
And instantly, everything in that series just had less weight to it. Yeah. Everything that was happening, and this was the later series of the Expanded Universe got a little bit over dramatic and a little bit. It was one of those things where every trilogy or every series needed to be bigger than the last one.
Oh,
so
wow.
So when you've had the Yuuzhan Vong War, where
do you go?
I think the final death toll of the Yuuzhan Vong War is 350 trillion.
Yeah.
And they go from there into
fighting giant beetles or something, wasn't it?
That's it's a weird one, but you go from that into then Luke's nephew turning to the dark side, and
spoilers.
It's 10 years old. It's fine, and you have kind of almost the retelling of the Anakin Skywalker story.
Yeah,
but from someone who had it all.
And not only that, but
down the same route.
But he also kind of had a Force connection with Anakin, and
he was able. He learned how to. They called it flow walking.
Yeah,
where he was able to Force project himself back in time, and he would watch what
Order
Anakin
66.
was doing, and say, "Oh, I'm not going to make those mistakes."
Yeah,
and then
I'm going to make a whole bunch of new ones.
Make all new mistakes. And you had that, and then
what's that from? That is from Jurassic.
Hey, you're not making the same mistakes again. You're
making all new ones. Yeah, that's from the Lost World. Yeah.
And then the series after that was the one I was reading. It was called Fate of the Jedi, and it was I can't remember exactly how it worked because it got a little bit muddled up. But I think it was basically God was out to get the Jedi or something. And it wasn't God. It was something called. His name was
Force.
No, it was called Abeloth, but it was
God.
Too powerful, and it just became a little bit less interesting because of that. But I was halfway through that series when this was announced.
Yeah.
And just everything, I just stopped caring because I was like, oh well, this is done now.
Yeah.
I need to buy a whole other 60 books over the next 10 years.
Yeah, and so the expanded universe became Legends.
Star Wars Legends.
Yeah. So I mean they're still there, but they're just seemingly just not counted in continuity anymore. Which I, for one, thought was very sad. But again, totally understandable.
Oh, well, this is the thing. This is when the buyout was announced that Disney bought Lucasfilm and they were making new Star Wars. This is why it was so instantaneous for me. It wasn't. Yeah. It was before they had announced. We're not doing this. It was as soon as it was announced. I was like, oh well, this is done.
Yeah,
because there have been 40 to 50 books.
But 40 to 50 years since Return of the Jedi.
But not only that, there was detailed stories for the entire time. There was no missing space. There was no point where you could slot a movie in, even early on, even a few years after, and say, oh yeah, this happened in here. But it all had to go. They had to wipe the slate.
Yeah, because the thing is, if you were to base something after all of that, then
there's no backstory. There's no.
Well, there's you know, you've got this. You know, you'd be hinting at 40 years of crazy history,
most of which would make better movies.
but not only that though, but you're for where you're trying to bring in a new audience.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
It doesn't. It was never going to work. It was never going to work because you'd be trying to please fans and there wouldn't be enough in it for the fans, and there'd be too much to end up alienating new people. So it was an inevitability, and that was fair. But it was also sad. Yeah. Like, you know, it felt
the saddest thing for me about it was not necessarily the stories, but the characters who were created for the expanded universe who now would never exist in new Star Wars.
Like Mara Jade.
Mara Jade, who, for those of you who don't know, was one of the first new characters introduced in the expanded universe in 1991's Heir to the Empire.
Yeah.
Who starts out as a villain.
She was the Emperor's apprentice.
The Emperor's apprentice goes on to become Luke Skywalker's wife and a Jedi Master. Yeah. And is an all-around badass. Yeah. And a really great character. Who now just doesn't exist.
Jason and Jaina
Solo. Anakin Solo. Tons of Jedi. Kip Durran.
Kip Durran.
Kip Durran doesn't exist anymore.
Kyle Katarn.
Kyle Katarn doesn't exist anymore. And I mean...
Dash Rendar. Do you remember Dash Rendar from Shadows of the Empire?
He was so cool.
The
Outrider.
He was way too cool.
Yeah.
He was way too cool.
And tons more that are on the tip of my tongue now.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, Thrawn. But Thrawn's back now.
Thrawn,
and this is it.
They are cherry picking. Yeah, they are cherry picking certain things, and I don't mind that. And because then, so leading up to Force Awakens, I did the exact opposite to what I did with Revenge of the Sith, where I overloaded on every single thing that you could possibly know about Revenge of the Sith going into it. I wanted to know nothing about Star Wars.
You didn't even watch the trailers.
I didn't watch the trailers. I wanted to be completely... I wanted to experience this film completely fresh, not knowing anything about it, not knowing who was in it, not knowing any of the mythology that they're like, okay, so these are the Knights of Ren, you're going to have to know about these guys. No, you're not. But like, you know, because loads of people afterwards were sitting there going, who were the Knights of Ren? We didn't know. And I was like, what are the Knights of Ren? You know, because it turned out it wasn't that important in the first film anyway. They might come back in the next one, who's to know. But I went in I hadn't watched anything, and it was wonderful to just watch. Now, I mean, as it turned out, it ended up being essentially a fancy remake of A New Hope.
But that's fine.
But that was fine.
A great movie.
Yeah, and I suppose they needed to do that to just refresh everyone. Everyone going, okay, look, these are more akin to the original trilogy than the prequel trilogy. But I also feel that they went a little bit too far in that direction. I feel that with the new prequels, or with the new prequels, with the sequels, that they skipped a few steps in their world building. They skipped a few steps in their storytelling because the original trilogy did it, but I think they were missing out on a few very important aspects. One of my biggest problems with the sequel trilogy is there is zero indication as to how big and or powerful the First Order is. There's zero indication to really, like, obviously they've built a giant space station on a planet, but you don't know, is that the entire First Order?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah, do they have a whole network of planets out there, or do they have just these guys on this one planet?
You know, so like when it was when it came to because it was different, because I figure someone somewhere was sitting there going, well, we managed to start a story halfway with A New Hope, you know, because that was stylistically what it was, but there were a couple of key differences. It's so a lot of the language used in A New Hope is so much more self-explanatory. The evil galactic empire. It does exactly what it says in the tin. You do not need to explain that. You get it straight away. Against the Rebel Alliance. Boom. Understand it. The First Order. Okay. Like, it doesn't explain itself. Like, the First Order of what? The first, you know, what's it aiming to do? Like, and then on top of that, it starts talking about the resistance, and it's like, why is there a resistance
if there's also
a republic? You know, that wasn't. And I suppose there was elements of me, because I was coming into it with expanded universe in mind, and there were certain ideas that were always there, like you had the New Republic and you had the remnant of the Empire and all that kind of stuff, and you're like, okay, but this didn't manage to establish in the film how really powerful the First Order was, and I found the whole idea of the resistance was way too vague.
Yeah.
100%. And unrelated to and I feel partially what they did was they veered way too far away from the prequels, that they were like, well, nobody liked the politics of the prequels, that they kept all of the politics out of Force Awakens, to the detriment of Force Awakens, because 20 years has passed. Like, this is a bigger time, or 30 years have passed. This is a bigger time leap than between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. There is certain things that need to be explained.
But as well, what they kind of left out as well, in terms of the politics, is their audience has grown up.
Yeah.
You know, The Force Awakens...
Although Star Wars is for kids.
Star Wars is for kids, 100%. Star Wars is for kids.
Although the sequel trilogy is, I find, less for kids.
Less for kids. But, well, no. The Last Jedi is less for kids.
Yeah.
The Force Awakens is 100% for kids.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
the Force
BB-8
Awakens
is just... BB-8 is...
goddamn adorable.
Oh, one of a masterstroke of a great addition to Star Wars.
Like, there's so much of the sequel trilogy that is so much fun.
Like, I loved
as I was sequel trilogy. We've only seen two of them so far.
I remember just watching, you know, that first thing of like seeing Kylo Ren and hearing his voice, and like I loved the distortion that they used. Like, it sounded like it was coming out of a battered amplifier or something.
I would really have loved if I could change one thing about The Force Awakens, I would have left the mask on for more of that movie.
Yeah,
I think his mask comes off just too early in the movie.
I think so.
And And don't get me wrong, I mean, I love seeing Adam
There's
Driver
less of a
act.
thing about
He's
he's one of the best things in that, you know.
But he is so menacing. He does feel like a new, not necessarily a new Darth Vader.
No, but
a different Darth Vader.
And that's what I think is really good about Kylo Ren, is because Darth Vader doesn't need to intimidate. He just walks in and stands there, and people are like, oh. Whereas Kylo Ren is so insecure that he feels the need that he has to lash out. He has to. What I
love about the character of Kylo Ren is this idea.
Like, he's an edgelord.
Yeah,
he is an edgelord.
It's this idea that he seems to be genuinely wants to be a bad guy.
Yeah,
but is actually a good guy. And you see it in when Snoke's talking to him. Yeah. The hologram. The first thing is, don't be seduced by the light side. Yeah. Because we've always heard for 6 movies of people being seduced by the dark side. Yeah. But he's trying to be a bad guy. But he's struggling with it. And you get that then in the spoiler alert when he kills his father. Yeah. And Han knows what's gonna happen there. Yeah. And he says, and Kylo Ren is thanking him for letting him do this. Yeah. Letting him do what he needs to do. Yeah. Which is kill him. Because he needs to do that to cement the fact that he can't go back. Yeah. That he's, whatever he wants to do now, in his mind, he's stuck being a bad guy.
And in doing that, he actually shatters himself even more. Yeah. You know? And I loved everything that Last Jedi did with Kylo Ren. I thought was excellent.
The Last Jedi is about an hour and 20 minutes of my favourite Star Wars movie.
How long is the film?
About a little over 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's so much of it is basically anything involving Luke, Rey, and Kylo Ren.
Ah, fantastic. Phenomenal.
Is mind-blowingly good.
Yeah.
Everything I've ever wanted from discussions about the Force. Yeah. From Kylo Ren and Rey fight scene in Snoke's throne room.
I love what they have done with expanding on the Force, and I love how it's not just this yay the light, boo the dark. I love this new idea of, well, I mean, it's not a new idea, but new idea in Star Wars that, you know, maybe
you can be somewhere in between.
Well, but not only that, but maybe you need to be somewhere in between.
Well, this is, you know, let's look at the prophecy in the prequels. Yeah. Bring balance to the Force. Yeah. Now, do you ever think the Jedi looked at that prophecy and said, right, bring balance to the Force. Here, lads, there's no Sith for the last 1,000 years, and there's a wild lot of us. There's loads,
and so he shows up and brings balance to the Force.
Yeah. I mean, what do they expect?
You know?
But I also, and this is a thing you get all these commentators of Star Wars saying that Rey is a Mary Sue. She's too powerful. Yeah. First of all, nah, she's class. But also, that is addressed in the dialogue of The Last Jedi. Yeah. Kylo Ren, the Force must be in balance. Yeah. And Kylo Ren has come up to be this powerful dark side user. There will be a powerful light side user to rise against him. In the past, there were 2 really powerful Sith. Loads of Jedi. Yeah. But there's not loads of Jedi now. There's just Luke and Snoke and Kylo Ren.
And thus they are so much more powerful.
So there's gonna be one more powerful person.
Like I loved how the amount of Jedi that there were actually diluted their power. Yeah. You know, and that there's certain aspects of what the new trilogy has done that has expanded on that, and I really, really like that. So when Force Awakens came out, I was just buzzing with going.
I remember we lived together at the time.
Yes, exactly.
We came home from the cinema and sat up for like a half an hour.
Oh, dude, about 2 hours.
No. I had to go to work the next day, so I forced us to not sit up all night.
Forced us.
Yeah, boy. I forced us to go to bed because I had to awaken very early.
Oh no! Oh man! Oh, is it bad that I like that joke way too much? So Force Awakens came out, and it was a lot of fun because it reawakened.
Reawakened Star Wars.
It reawakened Star Wars, and everyone was just like, ooh.
Everyone suddenly cared again.
And but this was now Star Wars in the age of good internet. Well, good internet. Better functioning internet, because there's a lot of not so good things on the internet. But
like John D. Ruddy's YouTube. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, like now there are reaction videos. Now there are theory videos. As opposed to in 2004 it was a theory thread
forum.
A forum. I think this is going to happen. Well, I think this is going to happen. Now that's happening. Yeah, it's still happening on Reddit, but it's also happening on someone making a video. Hundreds of thousands of people making a video. I mean, I made a reaction video to the Rise of Skywalker trailer. This is a different time again. And I think, and I'm really talking over you here, and I know you want to say something, but I think the internet, in a lot of ways, is its own worst enemy.
It's exactly what I was going to say. There's no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
But
is a common saying. I don't hate Star Wars.
But like, I think, and this goes to everything, to all realms, particularly within geek culture. Like Game of Thrones fell victim to it hugely.
Yeah.
Where basically,
every possible outcome had been predicted, so no matter what happened, it was always going to be underwhelming.
Yeah. And you're sitting there going, right, which one is it going to be? And so coming out of Force Awakens, the big questions were,
who is Snoke?
Who is Snoke? Who is Rey? Who are Rey's parents? And J.J. Abrams does that so well, where he asks all of the questions. And okay, so a fun thing happened during the making of The Last Jedi. So part of the making of The Last Jedi, they shot a lot of The Last Jedi in Ireland. And part of that, obviously everything out on was Acto, the planet of Acto, where Luke Skywalker lives. That island, for anyone who doesn't know, is a real island, Skellig Meal, down off the coast of County Kerry.
Porgs only exist because that island is populated by puffins, so they just created the porgs to cover them up with CGI.
Yeah. And so they didn't, obviously, now this is a World Heritage Site out there, because those little monastery things that Luke lives in, they were actually, well, I mean, the ones that he's interacting with are
the ones that they blew up
are set. They're a set, but they're based on real things that were built by monks in like the 7th or 8th century, and they went out there and lived there for about 100 years until even the monks were like, okay, this is too hardcore even for us, we're going back to the mainland. But they are real, they are still there. So obviously it was very difficult for them to film there because it was impractical to get out, but also even just
they had to be so careful with everything.
Exactly.
Everything they touched on that island could potentially be an international incident.
So they reproduced a lot of that set on the mainland, and they got a lot of shots all along the Irish coast. Part of which was in Malin Head, which is Ireland's most northerly point, which is about an hour's drive from where we live. And now there were rumours going around for quite a while that Star Wars was coming to Donegal. And me knowing certain people in certain hospitality industries, I knew of certain places where film crews had stayed before. And so I sent messages to said people. Thanks, McGrory's of Kildare, great place.
Hey guys, you gave us some really good night.
Yeah, boy. So I sent messages to said folks that I know so very well, and sent them a message just saying, So just so you know, because me and Niall, we also play music together in a band called Tasty, and
We really need to stop doing this. So.
oh no, I love doing it. It's great. It's just gonna keep on happening. And if you're listening to this, good luck. So we play in a two-piece called Tasty. He plays guitar, I play the trumpet, and we both sing. And we had played a lot of gigs up in McGrory's at that point. And so I sent a word on to them to say, just so you know, myself and Niall are massive Star Wars fans. And
if you happen to hear anything,
if you need any entertainment, if they're staying with you guys,
give us a shout.
Give us a shout.
Give us a shout.
And so I remember I was in the cinema.
I got a call at work from your sister.
I was in the cinema with my dad watching Captain America Civil War for the possibly third time. Definitely second time, possibly third time. Great movie. And I came out with like 10 missed calls. And
well, I'll tell you, I was in work. And my phone kept buzzing, and I worked in a cafe, and I was flat out. It was a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
I was flat out, and my phone kept buzzing. Eventually, I went and took a little break and looked at it, and it was your sister calling me over and over again. I called her back. I was like, "What's going on? Is everything all right? Is everything all right?" She's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm in work." She's like, "Where's John?" I don't know. McGrory's trying to get in touch with you. You free to play tonight? It's like, just that's very last minute. It's a while away. She's like, Star Wars are there. All right, we'll be there.
Yep. And off we went.
I went back in. I hung the phone up. I went back in to my boss and just said, "Here, I'm leaving an hour early."
Yeah.
I didn't ask. I just said, "Here, I'm leaving an hour early." He was like, "Are you now?" Or well, he was Hungarian, so it was more like, "Are you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm gonna meet Star Wars people and play music for them." He's like, "Okay, yeah, no, you can go now if you want."
Yeah. So Niall went and organised the gear, and I came out of the cinema. I was like, "Oh, we're playing a gig for Star Wars." So we went up to Kildare and we played. So we went in, set up, and there was no one. There was no one there, and we were like, "Okay." And so we started playing the music, and as we started playing, a couple of people kind of came in, and this guy, he looked like a 40-year-old Ed Sheeran, came wandering in. And as it turned out, that was Rian Johnson, and he was sitting there, and he got a bite to eat, and he was like one of the first people in, and he was just sitting there listening the whole night.
We had no idea who he was,
until
the very end of the night.
Yeah, and as the night went on, more and more people came in, and including Daisy Ridley, who comes in, and we were playing the entire night. And
we played for a good
4 hours. We played for about 4 hours.
My fingers were bleeding by the end of that night.
There was a point where we were coming to our last couple of tunes, and I was sitting there with my trumpet, and I was like, "This is literally the only time that I will ever be able to do this at a gig, and people will actually appreciate this." And so I went up to the mic. I was like, "Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is our last couple of last couple of songs of the evening, and this one goes out to all of you." And I played the trumpet. And the whole place erupted. They were like, "Yes, that's our song!" Like, it was very entertaining.
My favorite thing that night was when we said we were going to finish, and someone started shouting, "You can't finish! Rian Johnson's here! He wants you to keep playing!" And I can't remember if it was me or you, but one of us shouted, "You killed Hank."
Spoilers! That was me.
I didn't say what it was in,
yeah,
but Breaking Bad spoilers. Yeah. But he had directed the episode of Breaking Bad where one of the main characters, called Hank, dies. His name is Asac Schrader. But you had shouted out, "You killed Hank!" And everybody there misheard us, or misheard you, and thought you said Han. And we just were this crowd of people just started shouting out, "No, that was JJ! That was JJ!"
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was going for the deep cut, and they were just like,
none of them got it. I hope Ryan got it. I hope you got it.
Yeah. Yeah,
because he's totally watching this.
Yeah, I know, right? He watches a lot of stuff, surprisingly.
Yeah, he
tweeted me the next day. Thanks, Ryan.
He had my favorite tweet of 2019. Game of Thrones spoilers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When Arya killed the Night King, he just tweeted, "Oh man, I had so many great Night King theories." It was it was the sarkiest tweet I've ever seen, and I love him for it.
So, in the build up to The Last Jedi, and everybody's theories about who Rey was, about who was Rey's parents, and there was a very convincing one. I have to say, I am still on the team of I think she's connected to Palpatine. I think
I am leaning to, if any connection, I'm leaning to Palpatine clone.
Palpatine clone. Oh,
yeah. Because that was done in
Dark Empire.
Dark Empire. It was done. There were clones of Palpatine. And but just, and it's, for some reason, there's one shot in the trailer for Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
Of a load of Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
Rising up this army of Star Destroyers. Which, so this is just links in my head coming out of nowhere. But it reminded me of the Katana fleet from the Thrawn trilogy, which was this fleet of dreadnoughts from the Clone Wars that had been lost and abandoned.
Yeah.
So that got me thinking of that. And then I was like, well, maybe if they're taking something like that, maybe, possibly, potentially from the expanded universe, and Palpatine's coming back, but Palpatine's definitely dead, so Palpatine clone. So who's Rey? Failed Palpatine clone, dumped on a planet because she was a failure.
Oh, yeah.
It would explain why she's so powerful in the Force.
It would explain
why she's so instantly drawn to the dark side.
And there is also an element of, there's certain things that they have in her fighting style where she's like doing a lot of lunges like that, which is very reminiscent of Palpatine's fighting style. Although, of course, fighting styles are not hereditary.
Yeah, and I mean, her fighting style seems to be very much based off the fact that she's used to a staff.
That's true, actually. Yeah. And that
she's
is
used to the distance fighting.
I'll take
staff.
that. Yeah, no.
And also, they definitely hadn't planned that far in advance when she started fighting in Force Awakens.
Yeah,
which is a bit of a pity.
Yeah. I mean, it did. So in the build up, everybody had all of these theories. Who was Snoke? What was Snoke? I mean, I'm still holding it. I still think that Snoke was quite possibly Darth Plagueis.
See, I think that as well. Or alternatively, another failed Palpatine clone.
Possibly, but
it's all gonna be Palpatine clones.
It could
clones
be
everywhere.
Could be. So he's quite tall as well.
Just thinking. Rise of Skywalker trailer. Fighting among an ocean of wreckage. Big, massive ocean.
Camino?
Crashing waves
Camino?
all over the shop.
Camino?
Camino?
The circle would most certainly be complete.
Yeah, that's just popped into my head now.
And of course, there'd be a ton of like Imperial stuff hanging around Camino, because they would have been guarding.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now the only thing, but it could be a red herring from the first trailer, is that you see the wreckage of the Death Star.
Yeah, in an ocean. Well, I mean,
but
what's not to say that there is an ocean on the forest moon of Endor?
Well, that's what I presume.
Or on Endor itself, or is Endor a gas giant? I always wondered, is the forest moon called Endor, or is that the forest moon of Endor?
I think it was probably originally intended as the forest moon of Endor, and just became the forest moon called Endor.
It's the Endor system. Yeah. Pleased to know. So,
I mean, if it's the only habitable moon or planetoid in the system, they'll call the system after it, or call it.
So, Last Jedi comes out, and it subverts expectations. It subverts expectations. In so much as, I mean, I don't think Rian Johnson helped himself by essentially trolling the audience with your Snoke theories are rubbish or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't think he helped himself in that regard. I do appreciate the whole thing of, and because I didn't mind so much about Snoke getting killed. I didn't mind that so much, because he could still retroactively be talked about as to this is who he was and this is why he was important. That's fine. It was more so it was the way that it was done. It was almost that it was thrown away, almost to as a throwaway to the fans.
Yeah.
It almost felt like that, to be quite honest.
So what I find with a lot of The Last Jedi is that Rian Johnson very much seems to have gone in with a story that he wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And anything that wasn't part of the story that he wanted to tell, but was there from Force Awakens that he needed to have in it, was either pushed to the side or gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Like Snoke, Rey's parents, just thrown away.
No,
I'm not against the decisions he made with those two things.
Yeah.
My issue with The Last Jedi, and the reason I said it's about an hour and 20 minutes of my favourite Star Wars movie, is that there's 40 minutes.
Too long.
There's 40 minutes of characters who Rian Johnson just didn't seem to want in his movie, so he gave them a crappy B plot.
Overly complicated B plot.
Yeah, to make it seem
important.
Made it seem like it was important, but if you actually look at it hard, it wasn't.
Well, but at the same time though, like, because they went to find this specific guy.
Yeah,
and then they just find another guy completely by random. Who ultimately betrays them. But
Poe's arc. Poe has a character arc in the movie where he learns to wind his neck in.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
His whole character arc is, I'm not the boss.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be as convoluted as it is. It could have been done simpler. Even just one line of Admiral Holdo telling him why she's not telling him the plan.
Yeah.
Because I've always been absolutely fine with her not telling him the plan. It makes sense. She's an admiral. He's a dude who just got demoted. And she's not really sure why.
Yeah.
Why is she going to trust him with anything?
Yeah.
Makes sense for her not to tell him.
Oh, absolutely.
But the way the movie presents it for the first half, it's making it seem like she's the bad guy for not telling him. And it should be, for his arc to work, it should be us seeing that he's being irrational, and should be us seeing that he's getting things wrong. And then he gets to have his moment where he realizes, where he wakes up and Leia's there, and they're saying, oh no, she was doing the right thing all along. And
like, I suppose the movie was showing it from his perspective, but I think ultimately that worked against itself.
Yeah, it tried it tried something and it didn't work.
Yeah,
and that's fine, because the movie also tried a lot of things that really did work.
Now, what was interesting about The Last Jedi, I thought stylistically, was it's the very first Star Wars film to not have a time jump.
Oh yeah, it opens right after.
And to be quite honest, I didn't like it. Because it has my least favourite opening sequence, because his plans for the original shot I thought was excellent, or different. His original shot of when it's when the thing pans down after the scroll is, that opening shot of when we first see Finn.
Oh yeah.
So the original idea was that it would pan down and you see this big giant orb, you're like, what is that? And then obviously you see Finn's face and you realise you're inside the ship. Mm-hmm. As opposed to then they decided to cut that and they rearranged it so that happens later on and they're in hyperspace. And the problem with that is then with the shot that they're left with, where it's the planet and the evacuating ships, and it just zooms straight down into the planet, does a very quick shot, a very quick scene down to the planet. Oh no, they're here, and then we're back up in space. It just feels very disjointed very quickly. Everything up until that, it has always felt like the opening shot of any of these films is so deliberate. Yeah. So deliberate. And it felt like that opening shot was a bit of an afterthought.
No, to be fair, I think part of that works for me because it's a panic situation.
Okay.
And it drops you right in to the panic situation. I mean, you have... Now, to be fair, you also have the opening of Revenge of the Sith, which is a panic situation, but it does the cam drop in of the 2 starfighters.
Exactly.
It's really like, go BAM!
Yeah.
You know, it works.
Boom. Boom.
But
boom.
No, I didn't mind that, and I because again, it was something different. And after 8 movies, you do kind of want something different.
Yeah,
a little bit.
But in hindsight, I would have preferred the Finn option.
Yeah,
I think stylistically would have been better. One thing, and again, something that really caught me on the back foot from the word go with Last Jedi. And again, this is going back to what I was saying, where I feel like the kids skipped certain steps and you don't know how big the Last Order is.
First Order, you mean?
Or sorry, the Last Order, yeah, the First Order. I don't know how big the First Order is, because the Last Jedi opens in the crawl and it says the First Order reigns.
Yeah, but after Force Awakens,
you've literally just seen Starkiller Base getting blown up.
Yeah.
It they blew up the Republic capital, but the Republic capital isn't even established. And I'm aware that there was a whole subplot there with one of the characters that was on the Hothsian system, or whatever, Hosnian system. There was an entire subplot with her and with Leia that was completely cut, which I think was them being worried about, we're getting too political here. And I think that was such a misstep, because whenever the Hosnian system's blown up, you're sitting there going, did they just blow up Coruscant? That was genuinely my first reaction to that.
100%.
Because they didn't explain that the capital of the Republic was no longer Coruscant. And you see this planet with a whole pile of tall city skyscrapers, and you're like, did they just blow up Coruscant?
I mean, I think it would have been better if they'd blown up Coruscant.
Oh, it absolutely would have been. It would have been, it would have really upped the stakes. Yeah. But there were just so many aspects of it. And this was another problem that I had with Force Awakens, was whenever Starkiller Base shows up, it's completely out of the blue. And not in a good way. It kind of feels, whenever it turns out that they've got this giant
another Death Star.
Yeah, when they've got another Death Star, you're kind of like, oh, so it's another Death Star. Yeah. With zero build up to it. Zero. Did you hear what the First Order are doing? Did you hear about what is Project X and what can I do about it? There was zero build up to it. There was zero build up to, do you hear what they're planning? What they're planning is big. I don't know what it is, but I've heard it's going to be big. There was none of that. So whenever they're actually on it, it's like, oh. And I think what they were assuming was, they were like, well, they did that with the Death Star. All of a sudden, we're on the Death Star. But the Death Star was mentioned in the opening crawl. And the Death Star, a battle station with enough power to destroy an entire galaxy. And the entire thing is revolving around the Death Star, because R2 has the Death Star plans. All roads lead to the Death Star in the first one.
I absolutely get where you're coming from. In terms of an individual movie, I get where you're coming from. The problem is with that, and I kind of feel like we're being awfully negative on the sequels here, which I don't want to be, because I do like them. Yeah. And what you're looking at is, you're looking at The Force Awakens as an individual movie, as essentially, because it is essentially a remake of A New Hope.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
When you're looking at it from the standpoint of being Episode 7, where you've had 2 Death Stars before, everyone knows what the Death Star is. You don't need to, if you have another movie of, did you hear about this new project? Oh, did you see that new super weapon building? And you have the whole movie going, oh no, they have another Death Star. It's suddenly, almost out of nowhere, and much more powerful than the other Death Star, in that it's shooting across systems. And it's, it's the same again, but the stakes are upped. And the stakes are upped out of the left field. I do see where you're coming from.
But it's more of a case of, it's within about 10 minutes of it being introduced, it's being powered up and blowing
used.
something up.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, though. It's, because if it's being teased for ages, and then it's just another Death Star, it's a disappointment.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's, oh yeah, we're the First Order, we're here, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're bad dudes. Oh yeah, by the way, bam, you're dead.
Yeah. Like, I mean, my, again, and this just linking in with the start of The Last Jedi, with the First Order reigns, you've just seen them.
Oh yeah, that's just a mistake. That's just a mistake.
You've just seen them on the back foot, and I think, like, it almost feels like they were doing it because, well, the second one of the original trilogy was The Empire Strikes Back, so obviously the First Order needs to strike back. But the First Order reigns. It's like, how big is the First Order? Like, because from what I could see in the first film, it was like, was this the entirety of the First Order? Was this all of their ships or most of their ships? But no, it turns out that they've got an entire fleet of things that can just completely demolish fleets. And I just found it very frustrating because it just skipped that step.
That exposition.
It skipped that exposition, so that you're just sitting there going, like, I can't be scared of this threat if I don't know
how big it is.
I can't really engage with this threat properly. Evil Galactic Empire explains itself. You understand it's across the system, but even at that, you can it drops in throughout the film. If there's a bright center of the universe, well, we're on the planet that is farthest from. So you have this idea that it's an imperial outpost. It's it's here, but it's on the edge. It's on the edge of law. You get that idea. You don't get that, I find, and it's frustrating.
Are you done with your rant?
Yeah.
You done with your rant?
Yeah.
Can we talk about how great Mark Hamill is?
Mark Hamill is fantastic.
Because he is the shining beacon
Mark
of hope
Hamill
in The Last Jedi.
Is so good. Like, from his performance to, and I loved what they did with his character.
Yeah.
I loved, and I think that was a big problem that a lot of folk had with him, was that he, went off and became a hermit and, just went off and hid. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, he tried to do so. Like, the entire theme of that movie is failure.
Yeah.
And learning from your mistakes, and whether or not you learn from your mistakes or if you run away from your mistakes. And he has spent that last however many years running from his mistakes, hiding from his mistakes.
So there was a lot of backlash against certain decisions made about Luke in that movie. Mostly against the fact that he drew his lightsaber against his student. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
And I got very upset with people giving out about that. A lot of people saying...
Well, it's a scene that you see from three completely different perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. So
and is shot completely differently. Because when you see Kylo Ren's view of it, he's like, standing like that, because that's what Kylo Ren saw.
Whereas when you see Luke's perspective,
he's just standing there.
But he's fearful. He draws the lightsaber out of fear.
Yeah.
But as well, Luke feeling something in the Force and reacting emotionally and instantly drawing his lightsaber up.
That's what Luke has done in the past.
Yeah, this is not new for this character. And you had all these people who
remember your
time,
failure in the cave.
Yeah, remember people having not seen Luke Skywalker for 30 years were looking forward to Luke Skywalker, the hero.
Yeah,
and we're just so disappointed when they got Luke Skywalker, the failure.
Yeah.
I love Luke Skywalker, the film.
Yeah.
He's so bitter
Yeah.
but he's still Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
He's still, the bit. I love the bit where he's just on the Falcon and R2 comes up to him and plays him a little message, and it's so you see 20-odd-year-old Mark Hamill just snapping. He's still there in the eyes.
Yeah.
And the scene with Yoda is beautiful.
Yeah. What is it? They
are what we grow. Or no.
We are what they grow beyond.
And it's really, really touching and really brilliant. And he's just excellent. And the fact that he didn't even... Mark Hamill came out and said he fundamentally disagreed with pretty much every decision made for the character. Yeah. And yet still knocked it out of the park.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I thought it was... I mean, I do feel it was a bit of a shame to have killed him at the end of the film. I think, and obviously, I mean, he'll still be there as a Force ghost, but I think that he could have potentially just had a little bit more in him, to be quite honest. Yeah,
no, I do see that.
But at the same time, it's about handing the baton. It's about the new characters.
And it needed to be.
Yeah.
Because inevitably it was going to come down to, well, why is Rey fighting these people when Luke's right there and he's super powerful?
Yeah, and I liked how they teased that moment. And
you're not projecting yourself all this way. The effort would kill you.
Yeah, like how they had when he's facing off against the entire all the Imperial Walkers. I mean, I suppose we're in a world now, particularly with the likes of a lot of the Marvel movies, where not only does Marvel tease at something where they're like, this would have been cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But then they deliver on it. And you're 15 minutes into a sequence going,
oh, damn.
I can't believe they actually gave this to us. I think people were maybe going into that sequence expecting Luke essentially to do what Mace Windu did in Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, where he literally takes that entire thing on and he's running through,
walk out with his laser sword and face down the whole First Order.
And I think there were certain, and as cool as that would have been to see,
I think what we got is better.
I think what we got is great. Better, who's to know?
Okay, yeah, well, better is subjective.
Yeah.
I prefer it for what the character is and for what the character has grown to be.
Yes.
Because that is what 20-year-old Luke would have done.
Exactly. Yeah. It's about, he is about the peaceful solution. He is about,
it's not the Jedi way.
Yeah, and that I think that is really powerful. And it's not about going out and destroying everything, because one has to remember, if Kevin Smith taught us anything, if he goes and blows up all of those different people or all those different walkers, he's killing everybody inside them as well. No,
I really the whole story of the way Luke trains Rey and his fear of her connection to Kylo Ren, their relationship throughout that movie, I love it all.
Yeah,
I really, really do. You're very good at chopping up movies. Would you make me a cut of that movie that just cuts out all the Poe and Finn stuff?
Who's to know?
Yeah. That's a new project for you if you don't have enough already.
Oh yeah, because I have nothing.
Yeah, you got nothing else to do. Yeah, nothing. I adore that stuff. I really do, and I'm looking forward to the Rise of Skywalker now, because I think those characters have been built enough that they can have the climactic showdown now. And whatever happens, if, as the trailer has suggested, we might get a dark Rey. Maybe Kylo will go back to the light. Maybe that won't happen. Maybe Palpatine will kill them all.
Yeah.
That stuff might happen, but it's something big is going to happen, and it's going to feel earned. And meanwhile, the other characters, Finn and Poe, are back in the hands of J.J. Abrams, who made them so likable in the first movie, in The Force Awakens. They, when the opening scene of Finn and Poe escaping
that's
the
great.
Star Destroyer is brilliant. And they're as soon as the two of them are together,
Chemistry
they're
is
instantly
brilliant.
so likable.
Yeah.
And you instantly believe, oh yeah, these two are made to be best friends.
Yeah.
And I really hope we're going to see some of that again.
So, as a little sidestep before we go down the let's talk about Rise of Skywalker, Rogue One.
Oh, baby.
Rogue One came out between Force Awakens.
I kind of, we got
And
so
Last
wrapped up in the
Jedi.
Skywalker saga that...
Rogue One. To be honest, I think Rogue One is probably my favourite out of all the new Star Wars that has come out.
It's brilliant.
It does have pacing issues at times.
But I love... Rogue One gives me, in movie form, what I loved about the expanded universe.
Yes.
Characters who are on the sidelines, who are not the main characters, who are not Jedi, who...
Are expendable.
Who,
Spoilers.
Yeah, and it doesn't at any point feel like the fate of the galaxy depends on them. Even though it kind of does, because it's Death Star plans. But they don't really know that.
Yeah.
And, Jyn is in it to save her father.
Yeah.
As far as Cassian is concerned, this is another mission for the rebellion, where he's going to go somewhere and kill a dude. And because that's what he does. You have these guys who just tag along, who are just a ragtag group of people who are just like, oh yeah, let's do this thing and hope it helps some people.
Yeah.
But not save the universe.
I mean,
and it's great.
The last 40 minutes of that film are just like everything when they get to Scarif is just wow.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And I loved how and it was something that Force Awakens did, but it was something that that Rogue One did as well, is where they drew upon old unused Ralph McQuarrie material, which I thought was so cool.
Like Vader's lair.
Yes, Mustafar. Yeah.
And you know what I loved about that as well? It was seeing like cheesy 80s Darth Vader again.
Oh yeah.
Like, be careful not to choke on your aspirations.
Because some people didn't like that, but I mean, I find your lack of faith disturbing. Like he was one for the
apology accepted, Captain Nita.
Yeah, like he did make those badass lines, and they can be cheesy if you think about it. Like, but seeing the return of Darth Vader.
And the return of Darth Vader.
Well, because you see, up until that point, you've had this wonderful. What I loved about that final battle in Rogue One was it reminded me, in as much as what you were saying about the expanded universe, it reminded me of playing Rogue Squadron.
Yeah,
I was just like, this is like Rogue Squad. It brought me right back to my teenage years.
It's because you're seeing in that battle.
Yeah.
Fighters that haven't been used since the 80s.
Yeah.
Except for in those video games.
Yeah.
And you're finally seeing them being as cool as they can be.
But what's really cool about it is there were certain aspects of it that were answered, certain thoughts that I always had. Like say with the AT-ATs, for example. Although I think technically the ones on Scarif are like AT-CTs or something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're
like troop carriers. Right?
Yeah, they're slightly different. Yeah. But well, I mean, it's an all-terrain armored transport. It is. But anyway, one thing that I always thought when I was watching Empire Strikes Back was, okay, so they've got little snow speeders. That armor's too strong for tow cable. That
armor's too strong for blasters.
For blasters. So get in your X-wings and hit it with a bunch of proton torpedoes. Yeah. But then my rogue leader gaming mind, get out the Y-wings and blow them up from above. Whether or not they had Y-wings on Hoth is another question. But they did in the game. But thoughts like that were applied to Rogue One.
Yeah.
where like they're sitting there and they're flying around and they do blow up one of those things from the air with one of the fighters, and it blows up and blows apart, and they're firing up with rocket launchers, and there's all of these kind of thoughts, all of these kind of processes where it's like, these are the kind of things that I thought when I was a teenager, and they're paying off on it.
Happening.
And then on top of that, they have some of the returning characters from the original Red Squadron and Gold Squadron. It was like,
we finally see what happened to Red 5.
I know, like I love that. It's like, oh, you gonna die.
Yeah.
And it was so good.
Yeah.
And then
but great actors in as well. Ben Mendelsohn, yes. The mustache twirling, even though he doesn't have a mustache.
So good.
Ben Mendelsohn is he's such a great bad guy. He's such a great bad guy. Felicity Jones is great as Jin. Little bit sort of bored looking in places, but I also think that's part of the character.
I thought there was a really interesting theory that I only heard afterwards, that some people were thinking going into it, that I thought it was a real missed opportunity. Now, obviously, it would have required completely reworking the story because Jyn Erso's father and stuff. But the theory was that Jyn Erso was actually Princess Leia. That you're watching the entire film, seeing her as Jyn Erso and blah blah blah, and in the final moments she's running onto the blockade runner, she's putting on her outfit, going, oh, okay, right. I'm ready. I've been here this whole time. You know,
that would have been good.
Yeah, I know, right? But no, it was great, and I loved Michael Giacchino's score.
Oh, the score is great. I loved the very opening of the movie.
Yeah,
where it just. Yeah, you're kind of calm and waiting. You're waiting for the bam, and it just goes bang.
Yeah,
and that's it. And it's just, oh yeah, no, this is new.
But like, I love how he basically freestyled John Williams.
Yeah,
you know, and because John Williams' style, particularly John Williams' Star Wars style, is very emulatable if you know what you're doing.
Yeah,
I mean.
Giacchino knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and like listening to it, it is very much how John Williams would have done that. Yeah. And it was lovely to hear the return of the Death Star theme that has only ever been heard. It's one of the few Star Wars themes that up until Rogue One has only ever been heard in one movie. There's very few musical themes, going back to our musical geekage themes.
Very little that hasn't been reused or reworked or...
Because a lot of eagle-eared people, fox-eared people, shall I say, or whatever, will know that the Imperial March doesn't exist in A New Hope. And it's the only theme. So throughout that, there's no dun 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 dun. Instead, you have which which is never heard again. But that's the Imperial theme in that film. But the Death Star theme, the bum 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 bum, that's never heard again either. And it's so beautifully cheesy. Yeah.
And Flash Gordon.
They bring it back in Rogue One whenever they're putting on the final piece of the super laser. So some of the use of lighting in that film, like where they use, or even just how they have some of the ships working, like seeing the Star Destroyer hovering over the town and stuff, like just giving ideas of scale, like seeing the Death Star from the planet and seeing the Death Star pointed down at your planet, because I think there were early concepts in the very first film where they were looking at actually showing Alderaan's reaction to the Death Star. Yeah. And I think there was some concept art of the Death Star in the sky. And I think they very much fed on a lot of that. One thing that I'm really impressed with, did you notice how accurate the Death Star is?
Definitely didn't notice the thing that you're about to tell me about.
So the Death Star is impressively accurate. So, the final Death Star blast that we see on Scarif, where does it hit?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant accurate, like as in an accurate recreation.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, no, it chops off the top of the tower.
It chops off the top of the tower, like it doesn't it doesn't blast in the distance for no reason.
Yeah.
It hits the satellite first.
Yeah.
It's like little detail like that. It's like the Death Star, even though it is an entire sledgehammer, it is one accurate as hell sledgehammer. Yeah. Oh, it was fantastic. But then, of course, it all leads to that scene with Darth Vader.
Chills. Literal chills.
Because the thing with that scene is, all you needed to give me in that scene was essentially a throwback to Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, where he's in the corridor, he ignites the lightsaber, and you cut away. Yeah. That's all that needed.
That would have been fine.
That would have been fine. That would have been, and it would be like, that's like a throwback to Revenge of the Sith.
Maybe a shot from the hall outside where you hear some screams and a like.
Yeah. But, oh my god, they showed it.
I mean, we were saying earlier that, Star Wars is for kids. That movie is not for kids. Well,
no, it's not. But what's great, what I loved about that scene is it made Darth Vader scary again.
Yeah.
Because Darth Vader had lost a bit of had lost a bit of his scariness for a while. But that kind of reminded you going, oh no, wait, Darth Vader is terrifying. Yeah. Darth Vader is relentless. Darth Vader in that scene is like the Terminator. He's just like, no, I'm getting through there.
You're like paper to me.
Oh, he is terrifying. And, because some people were then saying, oh, well, that's ridiculous. It ruins the opening of episode 4, where they're chasing down that ship, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a member of the Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan. Like, some people are like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Obviously, he knows who's there.
He's literally seen them fly away. Yeah. But what I think is so good about that is it's almost like an episode of Cops or so, one of those like car chase shows. Do you have any idea how fast you were going? It's like, I wasn't going fast.
Oh no! It's like catching it's like catching a child with their hand in the packet of sweets. It's I can see you. What are you talking about? I'm just here on a diplomatic mission. Yeah. I don't know what.
He's like, you are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away. It's just.
Okay, right. We've been going for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just lay it out before we finish up. Last Jedi prediction. Not Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker prediction.
Okay, hold on.
15 words or less.
Okay, but before we go. Solo should not have been released 2 weeks after Infinity War. That was just stupid.
It's a bad idea, guys. You should have left Miller and Lord in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, Solo was fine.
Yeah, Solo was actually quite good.
Solo was
actually quite good.
Yeah.
I kind of feel it was hung out to dry a little bit.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Anyway. Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, right. Okay.
Prediction, 15 words or less.
I have to think about this. 15 words or less. The entirety. Oh, this isn't going to be 15 words or less.
That was a joke.
The entirety of the galaxy from both sides of like Resistance and Empire all come together in one big, stupidly epic hyperspace battle. Ooh. And I think Palpatine has been pulling strings all along.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, he mustn't have died. And I think perhaps he has been regaining his strength and kind of drawing
the dark side to it.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's so hard to predict because it could and that's what's good about it. Could go anyway. At this stage of the game.
All I'm gonna say is I'm almost gonna be disappointed if there's not another Death Star at this stage. There has to be another Death Star. Palpatine's coming back. The man loves him some Death Stars.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Or even if we got like one of the other super weapons, like the Sun Crusher.
Oh, do you remember the Sun Crusher? The Sun Crusher was tiny though. It was like a tiny little ship.
Yeah, but it made suns go supernova.
Yeah. Or the Dark Saber.
Yeah, or the Eye of Palpatine. There were so many super weapons in the expanded.
Or which was the one from Dark Empire, the World Destroyers?
Something like that. Yeah. Very
Devastators? No.
Yeah,
World Devastators. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's this whole factory where they're all built called the Maw.
Oh, that's right, the Maw.
And it's like to get there you have to go through a load of black holes or singularity
or
something like that. And they're just all it's just this place where there's just all these super weapons just camping out.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever's gonna happen. Although, do you know what? Okay, if you want a really crazy out there prediction. There's a secret episode 10.
Oh damn!
Okay, so I've had this theory in the back of my mind for quite some time, that you've got 3 trilogies,
and a finale,
and a finale that brings all of those trilogies together. And not only that, but can you imagine Star Wars Episode X?
Yeah.
Like,
it would be worth it
be worth it just for that. You know, Star Wars Episode 10. Yeah, the end.
9 is such an odd number to finish.
It is, isn't it? You know? Like, I would be so impressed if they have a secret Episode 10. Like, in this day...
I'd be impressed, and I do agree with the idea of it being very good, but at the same time, I think Disney want done with these. It's after the reaction to the last 2. I think they seem to be ready to just call it quits with those and move on with more Star Wars. You know, we're still going to get more Star Wars, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I think they're about done with the Skywalker saga.
Yeah. But I think an episode 10...
Yeah, it'd be badass.
Structurally, I think would be great. Structurally, I think you could take the... Although I'm hoping that episode 9 is going to do this. And particularly, like, if they potentially go to Camino, I would be happy with that. Because I think ignoring the prequels is ill-advised. And I mean, they haven't completely ignored the prequels.
Yeah. But they've more or less ignored the prequels.
One thing that I haven't enjoyed so much about the new sequels is their lack of inclusion of original aliens. And, you know, and like, yeah, obviously it's a massive galaxy, and I get that. But there's a certain Star Wars language that tells you that it's Star Wars.
Like, just give us a Twi'lek.
Just throw in a Rodian.
Give us a Quarren.
Throw in a Weequay in the background, you know, like
we Deveronian with his wee devil horns.
What's the name of the guys with the 3 A's? Where are they from?
They're from Malastarians.
Malastarians, yeah. But they're not called that. They're from Malastair, but they're not. They've another name, I think. It's not Husk, but it's like that, I think. I could be wrong. Breaking
my brain.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, like there's just a certain language, like say in the Canto Bight sequence.
Yeah.
It felt like Doctor Who. It felt like some science fiction world. Didn't feel like Star Wars.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. No, that being said, I didn't mind seeing lots of new stuff in Canto Bight.
Absolutely.
Particularly because in Canto Bight we kind of saw something that we hadn't really seen in Star Wars before, which
the upper
was
echelon.
The 1%.
Yeah.
You know.
You see, you saw a bit of it.
You saw a bit of it in Coruscant.
Yeah, you saw a bit of it at the opera in particular, but yeah.
But very little of it. You didn't get to explore it.
Yeah.
Whereas now you see it, and the idea of war profiteers and all that is it.
Yeah, and I really liked that they went there.
Yeah. Just didn't execute it. Great.
Yeah. Like say even at Maz Kanata's place in Force Awakens, like I loved all the new stuff. It would have been nice just to throw in a Rodian in the background.
Yeah.
Just to anchor it in Star Wars.
Just to make it feel.
I think that's what it was missing. It was so busy doing something new. It forgot to anchor itself, and I mean, you know, one could argue it's like, well, what's the point if you're just going to do old stuff? But there are certain, and again, this was another problem that I had just with the length of The Last Jedi it was too long. There is a certain length that a Star Wars film should be.
Where it feels comfortable.
Like, you know, I was as I said, I was watching the all 6 Star Wars movies at once, and Attack of the Clones is the longest one. But they all and A New Hope is the shortest. But they all end within kind of 5, 10, 15.
There's no more than 15 minutes between those.
Yeah. You know, like there's not a lot. Whereas I feel Last Jedi would probably just be heading into its third act by then. You know, like I find
it's longer. It's not that much.
No, it's not that long. But the pacing makes it feel like it does have pacing problems. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to watching it again on the big screen because it's a beautiful film.
I need to find a cinema in Auckland that's doing a triple bill.
Ooh. Oh yeah, it'll be summer down there.
And then convince.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh no! Convince her to be okay with me leaving her for a holiday.
Yeah. Then no, do that. Do that.
Yeah. Because that's not happening.
So, folks, that has been our experience of Star Wars for now. We may have some other hot takes on Star Wars in the future. We may be talking about The Mandalorian.
Yeah, keep an eye out. We'll be doing The Mandalorian hopefully as it's released, if we can manage it. Kind of go episode by episode and have a bit of fun with that.
But for now, that has been a little bit of how we have experienced Star Wars. I hope you have enjoyed it.
A little bit is a very odd way to put the last 3 hours of our lives.
3 hours and 40 minutes, dude.
Yeah.
This last one's been a special extended edition. So, while we are here, if you have enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, my other YouTube channel, John D. Ruddy. You can find all sorts of Man history videos.
And you can find us together as a duo on Twitter at Nerds Law, where, well, we haven't done much yet, but
you'll see. We'll show you.
We'll be active.
Yes.
It'll happen.
It will.
Bye.
Bye. So. Excuse me. That's him coughing.
I'm ready.
No, I'm not. Whoops. Are you good to go?
I'm good to go. You good to go?
I'm good to go.
Okay, who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Yeah. See what you did there? I like that. I appreciate it. That's what I appreciate about you. Okay, cool. So, hello and welcome to... I can't remember the name of the show. Niallson Johnson.
Niallson Johnson, Nerds at Law. It's a thing, John.
Okay, right, here we go.
It's alright, we've got some good high takes going.
Yeah.